3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Fourth Line Podcast, part of Full Press Radio. This is January the 25th, 2021. With today is myself, Carl, and Stevie Nick.
Carl, I learned about a new rivalry in the NHL this week.
Tell me more.
Have you heard of, I've never heard of it until I saw, I think the NHL call it this, the Hudson River rivalry?
Is that the Rangers Devils?
It is the Rangers Devils is the Hudson River rivalry. Have you ever heard that before?
Never.
Are they just trying to make it a thing?
I know that they're rivals because they're so close together. They've been in the same division for decades. Do
they share the Hudson River?
Probably.
It's pretty early, but we're pulling up the Google Maps.
I assume, yeah, I know what New York is, but I've never been to New York, and I only know that the Hudson exists because that guy landed a plane in it once.
I mean, this is why you can get all of your history from Hollywood. Yes, they share the river.
That wasn't from Hollywood. That was a real story
that Hollywood made into a popular film that you then learned about the story through.
I have not watched that movie. Is it good?
I don't know.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I'm not quite sure what movie we're talking about. Is it the Tom Hanks one or the Denzel Washington one?
Are they both about the guy landing the plane in the river?
I have no idea. I just know they're both about pilots flying planes.
There's a lot of those. We got Con Air. We have Airplane. Is that the Leslie Nielsen one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah.
I think the Tom Hanks one is about the guy who lands a plane on the Hudson River.
Okay.
Although, is that the same movie as the look at me, I am the boss now meme?
No, that's when Tom Hanks was overtaken by pirates.
Not on the plane that he landed on the river?
No, he's on a boat that's sailing down the ocean.
Okay, so it's not on it's not on the Hudson River?
No, that would be in the Atlantic. I have watched that movie.
Okay. Has Tom Hanks been in any hockey movies? Can we segue here somehow?
I don't know if Tom Hanks has acknowledged hockey in any of his movies. I
don't think so. Definitely baseball.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're the film aficionado out of the two of us. So if you don't know, I don't know.
He would make a great Hans in a Mighty Ducks movie.
Ooh. Would he? I don't know if he's a good accent guy.
Okay. He would make a great Mr. Ducksworth in a Mighty Ducks movie.
I just assume that he would be like the dad. Like he's the dad that just makes a cameo and drops the kid off at the rink, and he'll be back later to pick him up.
That's his only role in the movie. By the way, are you going to watch the new Mighty Ducks movie when it comes out?
Absolutely. Isn't it a series? We're getting a series, aren't we?
It's a television series? Oh, yeah, I thought it was a movie.
No.
I didn't think they'd be able to get Emilio Estevez to commit to a whole series. When you get work, you get work.
It's a streaming series, so it's probably going to be like 6 episodes.
Got it.
Yeah.
But speaking of the Mighty Ducks, how'd your Avalanche do last night?
Oh, that was a rough game.
Yeah, I watched some of it. It was not good.
So you watched.
Yeah.
You had some reasons why. I don't know if you want to divulge why.
Yeah, I'll talk about it. I've never done this before, but to be honest with you, the reason I did it is this whole COVID quarantine thing is getting to me, and I'm just bored stiff all the time. So to add a little excitement to my couch surfing, I signed up for one of the sports betting websites, and I started placing some little bets on hockey games. And the first one I ever did, because I just signed up last night, was Colorado versus Anaheim. So I had a couple bets on the game, and I got pretty intense.
Yeah. So that woke you up from your boredom of.
It was a lot of fun. The funniest thing though, is this is so the bets are so low stakes. I'm betting $1 or $2. It's really not much. And my level of intensity has skyrocketed.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to really get you involved and going.
It really doesn't.
especially when you bet you bet the over under on the first period.
Yeah, to be over 1.5, which I didn't think was unreasonable.
When the Avs are hitting, they hit 5 posts in the first period. If even half of those had gone in, you crushed the over.
Yeah,
crushed it.
Yeah. I also, after the Ducks scored their first goal, I put a bet on the Avalanche winning the first period because it was so early in the game that the Ducks scored that I was like, the Avalanche are definitely going to put up 2 this period. Nope. I don't even think they put up 2 all game.
They did not. They scored with about 4 minutes left in the game, and then Gabe Landeskog quickly took a penalty thereafter. So
terrible.
Yeah, it was a disappointing night for the Avalanche. I mean, a disappointing series, losing both games against the Ducks. John Gibson played a heck of a couple games, though.
Yeah, he looked good. He looked better than I would expect John Gibson to look.
When you give John Gibson 9 months off to get ready for the season, he better come in looking like that.
Yeah.
Right? No reason for him not to.
Yeah, totally.
Well, this week, you know what it's time for?
What is it time for?
We got the Elimination Station already. We're going to eliminate our first team from the playoffs.
So crazy.
We actually, the rule here is that you're not allowed to eliminate a team from the playoffs until everyone's at least played a game. So thank you, Dallas, for showing up finally so that we can have this segment. So that's good. We're going to talk. There was a big old trade, big trade this week. We'll talk about that. And Nick's Lidstrom. We're going to find out who Nick picks as his Lidstrom this week. But
yeah. Spoiler alert, it's going to be an East Coast team this week.
Ooh, well, I've got, you know what? I actually received some advanced scouting on who you should not pick this week. So
oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll get to that. Well, let's start with the Patrik Laine Pierre-Luc Dubois trade. 2 disgruntled players wanting new environments and new places, and hopefully they're less gruntled now. So
that whole thing, that was that escalated quickly.
Yeah.
Right? Like we heard about the Dubois trade requests back in the summer, and then he signed after taking a very long time to think about it, and then he signed.
Summer, which was like October.
Sure, the off season. That's trying to maintain some sense of normality here, Carl.
Okay, sorry. Yes, back in the summer when we were playing hockey and handing out the Stanley Cup.
Back in the summer when it was not shorts weather anymore.
When the Leafs played the Blue Jackets in the playoffs.
So anyways, then he signed and he started playing. And I think my assumption was, okay, I guess they're going to kind of figure this out, or they're going to be really patient and wait for the right trade to come along.
Yeah. I thought same thing.
And then the shift happened.
Now, I guess it was a shift, right?
I mean, that was the shift that they caught on camera. I doubt it was the only reason. I'm sure the shifts he played before, I wasn't watching the game, but I'm sure however many shifts he played before were equally as impressive. But man, that was brutal. Yeah.
So Pierre-Luc Dubois gets benched by Torts at that point, right?
I think it was still the first period.
Yeah.
So he sat him for the rest of the game.
He sat for 2 periods and overtime of that game, which this was not the first time that had happened, because he sat him earlier in the week. And I believe his quote was, "If I bench someone, you'll know." They said, was that a benching, or did he just sit out? And he went, "If I bench someone, you'll know." And then 2 games later, he sits out 2 periods of overtime. And I think his quote after the game was, "Well, now you know."
I mean, okay, look, did you think Torts was in the right here?
No.
You don't think he should have benched him?
I think that there should have been I assume that there was a conversation between him and management of how they want to handle this thing. But by him benching him and that being the way that they handled it, a very public way, right? He could have made comments in the media. He could have done a number of things, but visibly benching him and not playing him for all those times. Healthy scratch him. That's going to be better, right? But like, to me, that forced their hand, pushed it in the end, and we'll get to the value they got back for him. But in the end, I think they did okay. But that certainly made it more of a priority for management to need to make a trade before his value continued to decrease. Because if he's going to continually get benched and continually have these issues, it's not going to look well for him.
I think Torts was in the right. Honestly, watching that shift, that was embarrassing. I think that if you're going to go out, if you're going to get paid $5.5 million a year to play hockey, you better go out and play your 20 minutes to the best of your ability. And that was disgusting what he went out and did in that shift.
So can you, for those who haven't seen it, can you give us a little theater of the mind of what happened in that shift?
Man, so he jumps off the bench and the play goes into his defensive end and he's kind of gliding around and he goes towards the puck and he bumps into one of his defensemen who kind of fumbled the puck. At some point, the puck floats all the way down to the offensive zone and Dubois is kind of the only guy in for his team. He just floats out there. What team were they playing against? Anyways, he didn't even get out muscled from the puck. He stood there while the opposing defenseman came, took the puck, dumped it out. Dubois glides back to the bench. 9 seconds. It took him 9 seconds to get from the goal line to his bench to change off the ice.
Yeah.
Awful.
A real lackluster effort.
It was so obvious. Like, you can watch sometimes and you're like, oh, what's wrong with that guy? Is he hurt? Is he tired? What's going on there? This was just so obvious. Nothing's wrong. He just doesn't care.
Yeah. Now, so ends up now heading to Winnipeg and we've got to wait. We have to wait 2 weeks for both of these players to get through quarantine as they went across the border. So 7 games apiece that they'll each be missing. But do you think that a new situation is what's going to cure the Pierre-Luc Dubois attitude struggles?
I mean, I would think so. It's hard to know what's really bothering him, like why he wanted out. Was it Tortorella? Was it the market? I mean, there seems to be something about Columbus that star players don't want to be there, and it's not just under this coach. So is there something about the city, the market that he didn't like? Did he want to be closer to home? Like there were rumors that, Montreal was getting close to something. At the end of the day, he wanted out, he got out. So I think that has to be enough for a player like that to be less gruntled.
Definitely. But so I don't know. Did you see the comments from after the trade from Nick Foligno?
I didn't. No.
Okay. So very interesting. Because the captain of the team, longtime player, longtime guy. Foligno's been there the entire time that Dubois has been with the organization. So
notably great guy, an excellent person.
Right. So part of his quote, he had a lengthy quote, but he said, "It's hard. We're friends, obviously. But there's also a difference in the business where it's teammates and friends, and it's harder to divide the two. We did it a little bit easier maybe than you guys think, but we're never going to hold anything against Luke. It's just a matter of we need guys in here that want to win and that want to be here, and obviously that wasn't the case."
Interesting.
So sounds like the locker room and the guys that are there, and perhaps it was just from, the comments in the offseason, right, saying they wanted the trade. He wanted the trade. The performance in some of these games since the season started back, that the team was done with him too. Yeah,
there's a lot said there between the words, I think, in that quote. But like Columbus is a team, and I don't think the players are ignorant to this. They are a team that doesn't have a ton of star power. They don't have Artemi Panarins. They don't have Sergei Bobrovskis. They rely on heart and grit, all those intangibles, and they rely on everybody buying into the system. And if you're not willing to buy into the system and play a full shift at 110% going back and forth, that's a broken cog in the wheel. And I think the other cogs in the wheels are like, we need all of our cogs in line and rolling.
Yeah, I definitely agree, right? You need that. And in the same way, so he's going to Winnipeg. Patrik Laine's coming back. Laine been rumored to be on his way out of Winnipeg for some time. And now we see that. So numbers wise, just pure goal scoring, Laine, one of the top goal scorers in the league since he was drafted.
Yeah.
Do you recall how like where he ranks since he got drafted? I
do. Thank you for asking, Carl. He is oh no, I've swapped my list. He's number 9 on the list in goals. Yeah.
Which, like, if the number 9 goal scorer, let's say like number 9 goal scorer in the league, I'm not sure like statistically how many people would agree with that, but since drafted, especially as a rookie, like that's a top goal scorer. So for someone to be traded for the guy actually drafted one spot below him in the draft, Laine went 2, Dubois went 3. And then you've got also sending Roslovic back to Columbus as well. So Winnipeg sending 2 pieces in order to get him out. A shocking, I think on paper, you look at those and say shocking, but in reality, is it?
No, I don't think so. I mean, okay. Well, first of all, would you say that Dubois is a top line center, a number 1 center?
I would say he's getting close. I mean, would I
he
say
can be? It has the potential.
Yes, absolutely. Would I say that Dubois is a top 32 as we get into next year, top 32 center in the league? Probably, yeah, I would.
Right. And I think that there's a high value placed on top line centers in this league. They're hard to come by. They're hard to come by.
Yeah.
And, I would take a top line center over a top line winger, right? Higher value assigned to the center over the winger. And we're just speaking generally here. So yeah, you have to add to that for me to give up my center. I'm not just doing a 1-for-1 swap.
Right. Now, granted, Winnipeg already has Scheifele at center. So like for them to be able to now bring him in and to be able to have Dubois and Scheifele 1-2 at center gives you that flexibility where, you know what, you can start to move some pieces around and have some guys that maybe you're playing at center who shouldn't be, right? And kind of give you those extra little bits. So Winnipeg, I mean, I haven't seen what they're planning. I guess he hasn't been with the team, so we can't really know what they're rolling out for lines, but interested and excited to see what they can roll it as a top 6 now.
Yeah, they're going to have a nice 1-2 punch down the middle.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. We haven't really gotten into the win or lose conversation, but to me, I think Winnipeg wins this one.
I would say, I think Columbus would probably, I mean, there's great potential there. Patrik Laine is a great piece on the power play. Jack Roslovic is a, fine depth forward, right? They extended him.
Who can also play center, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So you're not getting another good center back, but you're getting a fine center.
Yeah.
And I'm very curious because Laine's pure talent is substantially, Laine's peak is far better than Dubois' peak. Like when you see what Laine can do, it is exciting, but it's so spread out and so sporadic what he actually gives. And he is one where like, I'm not sure how Torts and him are going to get along super well.
Yeah, that one's a scary thought, right? Because anyone's assessment of Laine as a player is amazing offensively. Basically, the sky's the limit for his goal scoring potential. Huge liability defensively.
Yeah.
And, we talked about that Blue Jackets team and how everyone has to contribute all over the ice and they have to buy into the system. I don't know if we've seen Laine do that in Winnipeg.
No, that's why he's been kind of moved all around that lineup. Like he's been a third line winger repeatedly there.
So he's going to have to, I don't know. I almost think he's going to have to work harder in Columbus. But I'm curious to see how that relationship between player and coach shakes out there.
Yeah. And you have to know that the organization would have, I would hope, consulted Trotz and been like, all right, like, what do you think? How does this guy fit into what we're trying to do here? And if he signed off on it and he's happy and excited about what they brought in, I think he's got ideas at least.
I should hope so. It'll be interesting to see. I like the suspense of having to wait the 2 weeks of quarantine.
I know. We literally, like, even next week, we don't get to talk about this trade on the ice. It's going to give us, it gives us content for weeks. Which is great.
That is true.
Make a note for the February 12th episode to talk about this.
Yeah. So it was a very exciting trade that happened in the NHL this week. Probably the biggest one we're going to see this season. The last piece, which we didn't really mention, we don't have to talk about it, is the 3rd round pick that went to Columbus in 2022.
Yeah. Well, and the retention of salary as well.
Yeah.
That just to make them even. But hey, Laine, gonna see. I guess he will be a restricted free agent after this year, so an extension coming between him and Columbus, or it doesn't work and he's off to somewhere new again. But this is kind of a chance for both of them to rewrite their starts. And I mean, when was the last time we have seen the number 2 and 3 pick in a draft 4 years after get swapped for each other?
I don't know. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. To look back and it's just like, all right, we want a do-over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to do that. But again, could you imagine at the draft if Winnipeg had a passed over Laine and taken Dubois? What the commotion that would have happened in Winnipeg?
Yeah, imagine. It would have been nuts.
It would have been great because the amount of people, because that was the Matthews Laine draft. Everyone talking about that, and then for Winnipeg to be like, "We're good. We're going to take Dubois," would have been riots in the streets.
But then nothing would have changed from then on. Both players would have been in those markets complaining about being in those markets, and they would have traded with the others, and then we have Dubois in Columbus and Laine in Winnipeg.
It's true. Yeah, it is interesting. They can request a trade all they want, but that doesn't mean that, they should have asked Matt Duchene what it's like to request a trade and end up in Ottawa. So
yep.
Well, there we go. More game cancellations this week, this time centering around the Carolina Hurricanes. Dallas has gotten to play some games, so that's nice for them.
Yeah, they've looked good too. They got some extra rest in there, didn't they?
Is that all that it takes? Is Carolina going to come out gangbusters when they're done this thing?
I don't know. Something clicked for the Stars.
Yeah, Dallas came out, won their first game 7-0 against Nashville, and then the next one 3-2. Unfortunately, UC Saros was in net for the 7-0 loss. So
oof.
My Saros love.
Sorry, buddy.
It's yikes. It's not looking good. He was in net for both of those actually. So you know what?
It happens.
Everyone has a bad game.
Or two.
Or enough to miss the playoffs. Anyways, but Carolina, they're going to be missing games, and most of their games, their games for this week already had a number of cancellations. They started returning back to practice this week, not as a full piece, but already this week, Florida matchup was canceled on the weekend. The Panthers just don't get to play hockey.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's the rule for that. Again, maybe they'll go full Stars and come out looking great, but they've got games canceled coming up this week as well. They're playing Tampa this week, so looking like postponement likely coming for those as well.
We knew this was coming. Everybody said it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And you can see kind of the way that COVID kind of reverberates out throughout the league because, the Canes are in the situation now. They opened the season about against the Red Wings. The Red Wings currently have like 5 guys on the COVID list.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just so crazy, man. Like it has a potential for these schedules to be disastrous.
So is the thought there, especially for Detroit, is the thought there that was transferred through those games against the Hurricanes, or is there not enough to know?
There's not enough to know. At least they haven't said anything. I'm speculating wildly here. To me, it's just like my brain's connecting dots.
As it would, yeah.
So I don't know. It's just a scary thought. If I was the NHL, I'd be pretty nervous right now.
Well, and especially the fact that like all of these cancellations so far have been in one division, right?
Yeah.
If it would have been different divisions, like the fact that the Panthers already have 4 games that need to be rescheduled and they need to try to fit those in there, it will be interesting to see. Do you think that now that we see the reality of this, right, that we're 2 weeks into the season, the Panthers have missed 4 games, do you think that we get a full 56 game schedule for every team?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're going to try their darndest to get us 56 games for every team. I know that they said if some teams can't do it, they'll go based on kind of points percentage, but that's got to be like an absolute worst case scenario for them.
Mm-hmm. So if we look right now and so the Panthers and both of the games that they've played, 2 wins, by the way. So congratulations, Panthers. Winless or lossless, undefeated so far this year. If you look at their schedule, right now in January, they have no days of back-to-back days off. They have 0 back-to-back days off in February. They have, they're playing, they play the Canes with, they play 2 and 3 days. Are they going to be playing 3 games against the Hurricanes in 3 days to get that back?
I don't know. This is, right. It's brutal for the Panthers considering they're not even the ones at fault here.
Right. They've had, I'm not aware of any issues with the Panthers, certainly not enough for canceling games, shutting practices, things like that. Now they do have, right after that 2-game set against the Hurricanes, they do have their first 2-day break between March 2nd and 3rd. They have games off, but after that, those are the only ones until March 21st and 22nd as well. So that's kind of what this schedule looks like. Like it's going to be for all of these teams. You have probably only 3 or 4 windows to get in these games. And when you now have 4 games, there's all your windows. All your windows are full. So we're going to have, are we going to see a doubleheader in hockey?
On the same day?
Yeah.
No, come on. They can't. No.
Can they?
No.
If it came down to a 55-game schedule or a doubleheader, which do you think the NHL?
Oh, they'll do the doubleheader.
Exactly.
They just can't make it a regular thing. Like, I think we'll definitely see some teams play 3 days in a row this year.
Yeah.
The doubleheader, though, it's so hard on the players.
Because so in baseball, the only other sport that I'm aware that does doubleheaders, they will expand the rosters when they have a doubleheader. So would you be okay if the NHL did a doubleheader and gave you an extra forward and defenseman? Would that be enough that you think it would be okay? Or even then, still not fair? It's not enough.
I think you gotta, if you're gonna do it, you have to extend the taxi squad a little bit and let them move freely. Like your taxi squad now becomes an extension of your team, and maybe you can only have the same amount of players on the bench, but between both games, you have an extended roster.
Right. Or you just, in between periods, you're hot swapping guys in and off the taxi squad.
Sure.
This guy's been Pierre-Luc Dubois. You're benched for the 2nd and 3rd. We called someone in off the taxi squad. You got the emergency backup goalie. Just do that in game. It's fine.
This has been the year of unprecedented things.
Yeah, why not? Right? Let it roll.
It's time to get creative.
Washington Capitals, they got in some hot water this week, getting the first fine that we've gotten, $100,000 fine to the organization for players hanging out unmasked in hotel rooms, which is how does the NHL, there's a lot of questions I have about this, but the fact that the NHL found out, and I'm not condoning like skirting the rules and hiding it, but the fact that the NHL is finding out what's happening in like hotel rooms really speaks to how either unaware of the rules the players are, which is what that seems to me, right? Like just they're so used to, and I think we all kind of can get into that situation where we're used to the normal of like, I just sat next to this guy on the bench, I was in the locker room next to him, and now I can't go hang out after the game at the hotel. I think now that the Caps have had that, everyone else is like, oh, I can't be doing that.
Yeah, that's been my number one question too, is how did this get out?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Was it someone else on the team, players, trainers, management? Was it coaching? Was it hotel staff, social media? But I mean, there weren't any pictures made public that I'm aware of.
I looked and I didn't see any.
So somebody said something. I don't think these guys were flaunting it, but maybe. I don't know. Do the refs stay in the same hotels as the players? Are they patrolling the hallway in their black and white stripes?
Yeah. You just got the guys getting whistled, getting tossed back to their rooms.
Hefty fine though, eh?
Big fine, which when it comes down to games being canceled, if that becomes an issue, because literally that happened, and then Ilya Samsonov ended up on the COVID list,
right.
Testing positive. And then Alex Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, and Dmitry Orlov were all, so it was those four, and then one of them tested positive. So now they're all out for an extended time. But how much does it cost the NHL if you have to cancel games? Yeah. It's got to be more than $100,000.
Yeah.
Right. So that seems about right. Like if you're gonna cause this hassle for us, for those other teams, it seems fair.
You also have to make an example out of it too, right? Like, we're not going to stand for this. There's no skirting the rules with this stuff. We take it very seriously, but also like Alex Ovechkin, you are a very visible player for us. You are a very big marketing asset for us. You know, that's 2 star players that were in that room.
Yeah. Breaking
the rules and, acting irresponsibly according to the standards that the NHL and the NHLPA have set out.
Exactly. Right. And that's the thing, is that it's not, this wasn't something that just the NHL said. This was the rules that have been agreed upon to make this season happen. And the players don't want bubbles. There's concessions that get made for that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let us take a bit of a break, and we'll be back on the other side with an old favorite and a new favorite. Welcome back. As mentioned, we've got the Elimination Station is back already. Week number 2 of the season, episode 2 with games. We are eliminating
Elimination Station.
someone. So if you're new to the show, what we did, this is our 3rd season of the Elimination Station, I want to say.
How long have I been on? Because it started before I came.
Yes. I want to say 3, maybe even 4.
Yeah.
Anyways, the Elimination Station, what we do is we eliminate a team from the playoffs. And once we do that, we kind of take a look and say, like, what does this team need to do to get back into the playoffs and get back into contending? We have never had to remove a team from the Elimination Station except for my Colorado Avalanche.
God.
So
there we go.
That is the only team that's ever been able to overcome the Elimination Station. The rest of them, I mean, did we? Nope. Last year didn't count because like 24 teams made the playoffs. But
I mean, last year, I don't even remember how we handled the Elimination Station because the season was cut short like a week before the playoffs started.
Yeah. No, even longer than that. We still had some teams left to go. We eliminated them in the offseason.
Yeah, we did, didn't we? It was after.
Yeah. But either way, we eliminated some teams after, but we didn't play those games, so it didn't count. So no team's ever been removed, except for one. So I would venture to say that the team that goes in this week would need to make a mighty comeback if they're going to survive. Now, last week, I kind of hinted. I don't remember. Was it on the show that I hinted that I had a team to put in? Or was that just to you?
No, I think it was on the show.
Okay.
You
so as I hinted last week, I had a team. That team went out and in 4 games this week, they came away with 5 points. 5 points in the last 3 games. So I still don't feel good about them, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to put the Chicago Blackhawks in the Elimination Station yet.
So I guess you are wrong sometimes, huh?
That's why we wait. That's why I didn't put them in last week.
Chicago's not the team to go in this week.
No, not after win. You can't win 2 in a row and then get put in the first week.
Yeah, no, they're still in it. Who else you got?
All right. So if we take a gander, take a little peek at the standings, there are 2 teams with tied for 3 points. Those teams are the New York Rangers, the Ottawa Senators. Other teams at the bottom, Canucks, Red Wings, Predators, and then Hurricanes, Panthers, Stars. So AKA teams that haven't played enough games. So I'm looking at kind of those bottom 5, and it's really, to me, down to the teams that we expected to be there that are. I don't think we expected we didn't expect Canucks to be at the bottom. Rangers probably a little bit higher. Not probably. Rangers a little bit higher than that. Red Wings and Senators, we expected them to be at the bottom, and they are at the bottom. To me, it comes down to one of those 2 teams.
The Red Wings or the Senators?
The Red Wings or the Senators.
I mean, I know what my pretty clear answer is.
What is that pretty clear answer?
It's the one I said in the summer when we talked about how soon we were going to have to start this Elimination Station. It's the Detroit Red Wings.
You think
they're the worst team in the league?
So you have been less impressed with them than the Senators thus far?
Yes.
Okay. I think because the only reason that I would put the Red Wings ahead of them, the Senators have, and again, we're making this decision and we're like, how good are the Senators? They've played against 2 teams this year.
Yeah.
So it's a fun, how do you like, I know that this is off topic slightly, but how are you liking this schedule with the series?
I think it's okay. I mean, there's been some bummer games that were just kind of duds, but I think it's fine. I think it's going to get more interesting the more we get into the season.
I love it.
It's all still very fresh, I find. You like it?
I love it. I want this all the time.
Playing the same teams?
I only ever want them to play like back-to-backs. Especially like the in-division games, let's say. Like I only want, if you go to a city, I want you, when you play the teams in your division, I want you to go there for 2 games.
Yeah, I am definitely enjoying that structure. And I like how it's so fast. Like you get to the city and then you have 2 games, whether it's back-to-back or with a break in between. And then you move to the next city and bam, bam, you got those next 2 games. That I'm enjoying quite a bit.
Yeah, well, and you got to think that for the NHL, like cost-wise, right? it's cheaper to do it this way, less travel.
Yeah.
Get the multi-day room rate on the hotel.
Collect their points.
Yeah, exactly, right? Stay 3 nights and the 4th one's free. Absolutely.
You think the players are allowed to collect their own points when they go to the hotels?
I don't think so.
Because like when I travel for work, they pay for it obviously, but they let me collect points on my own account.
It's true.
NHL players don't have that same luxury?
I would say probably not.
Put it in the CBA.
I would say, you know what? I don't know how many Wyndham rewards NHL players are gathering.
It's all just going on Gary's credit card.
Yeah. He's never paid for a hotel in his life. So.
No, he needs to get out of that dining room.
Yeah. All right. So you think the Red Wings? I mean, I'm very okay to put the Red Wings in first.
Look, it's just a matter of what team do we want to talk about right now, because whichever one we don't put in this week is going to go in next week.
Let's ask this question: are you emotionally prepared right now to put the Red Wings in the elimination station? You seem like you are.
Yeah, it's made the season more fun for me. But you know what? Let's put it off one more week.
Okay. You're not ready to rip that Band-Aid off? Let's
put it off for one more week. Give me one more week of critical viewing.
Okay.
And then I'll be able to tell you how long it will take for this team to get back.
Okay. I like that. So the Ottawa Senators then.
Ottawa Senators.
They have won one game thus far. It was opening night against the Maple Leafs. They won that game. And I mean, watching that game, I looked at it and it's very easy in a small sample size, but I was like, you know what? They held their own against the Leafs in a number of ways.
They did.
Opening night.
Yeah.
And then the next game, less so. I mean, it was still 1-goal game that next time. And I thought, this team is better than I gave them credit for. And certainly a lot of those, depthy off-season additions looked pretty good in a number of those games to start the year. But this is where this team needs to be. They need to be competitive and losing close games. You don't want to be getting blown out like when the Jets put up 6 on them. You don't want that. But you want them putting up, 3-2 games against the Leafs or lose to the Jets in overtime. That's what you want. You want them being able to say, okay, we're getting there, but we're going to get a high draft pick as well.
Yeah. And you want these young players to be in games that matter and that are close enough for them to still be giving it their all to stay in the game. You get the blowouts, people get the wind sucked out of them. They don't want to, what's the point of finishing the game, of playing? You want them to be close. And I agree. They've looked better than I thought that they would. They looked really good in their series against the Leafs. I agree. That second game, especially the middle period, was a little lackluster. But they took the Jets to overtime in game 3.
Yeah.
That's not nothing.
Definitely not.
So so it's great for them to be competitive. They are also in a very good spot of their rebuild. It's heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, you've got these guys contributing, right?
Yes.
You have Brady Tkachuk looking good so far this year. Even some of these guys that I wouldn't think are long-term pieces, but could end up being depth guys on this team, like Drake Batherson.
Yeah.
I don't foresee a lengthy, impressive run from Nick Paul, but Senators fans are buying in.
He's looked good so far.
Yep.
25-year-old Nick Paul.
25. I mean, look, when your leading scorer on your team is Nikita Zaitsev, you know that other people need to step up.
Yeah. That's not sustainable.
No. But I mean, so for me, I look at this team and there's more that I want out of some of these guys, right? But like Stützle has looked, I mean, he started off hot, right? Scored that opening goal. And looked good. He's had some good performances, but he's also had some that are needing some improvement, right? And making that adjustment to a faster game, things just come at you a little bit quicker. And to be able to, you'll see this with all these rookies, right? Every single person who's just coming into the league that has not played, and I mean, he hasn't played North American hockey even, right? So just that adjustment itself. But you know, to be able, you have to make those decisions just a little bit quicker than you had to. And I think the talent is there for him, and just getting used to making those mental adjustments and getting used to that you can only get that through reps. And with no preseason and all of this, I think as this season goes, he's going to have an amazing second half.
Yeah. And look, at 19 years old, I don't think anybody expected him to come into this Ottawa Senators team and lift them to the top of the North Division. But apparently he hurt himself at the World Juniors, eh?
Yes, I did not realize that.
Yeah, so apparently he's playing with a bit of an injury that was sustained at the World Juniors. So I don't know. Maybe the Rangers made the right decision not sending Lafreniere. Yeah,
interesting. I mean, that would make sense why he's only played in 2 games so far. So do you have an idea on the timeline when he'll be back?
I don't know. No, I didn't see that. I don't even know what exactly the injury is. They may not have disclosed it. But yeah, so take that for what it's worth. But you know, he's been certainly played him sheltered minutes, but it hasn't been like they haven't limited him in his ice time, I don't think.
Yeah. He is in the lineup tonight against Ottawa.
There you go.
So
he's playing against his own team.
Vancouver in the lineup tonight. That's his look. COVID's led to cancellations. They're playing split squad games and it counts. So that's how they're going to get through 56 games.
You mentioned getting some more out of players. How about Matt Murray?
Yeah. How about Matt Murray?
You know, look, it's a small sample size. We've seen him start 4 games, but that save percentage he's rocking leaves a lot to be desired.
I mean, I don't have the full rankings on fancy stats pulled up right now, but you got to think his goals saved above average has got to be at the bottom of the league.
His goals saved above average is minus 2.92
in 4 games. So that's almost that's 0.75 a game that an average goalie would give up. So definitely letting down the team. And when you've got a contract with term that's been signed for him, the Senators expect more, but I'm not sure he can give it.
They need him to be better though. I mean, the positive thing for them is through 5 games, they've been able to stay in 4 of them for the most part.
In spite of Matt Murray. They've been able to stay in it. So I think that's a positive thing from their players' perspective. But yeah, they need more out of this guy for sure. Yeah. All right. What do you do with this team moving forward? Anything substantial or just stay the course?
No, stay the course. They're doing all the right things. You know, they're drafting high. They're picking some good players. They have a pretty strong farm system. Their top picks that have cracked the NHL roster look good. It's all going to come together for them in the next little while. They just got to be patient.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. There you go. Welcome the first team in the Elimination Station, the Ottawa Senators.
Welcome, Ottawa.
Welcome to the Elimination Station. All right. Next up, and this is one, so we played the Elimination Station music. We will play, we actually have another new jingle, but we're going to save that one. Stay tuned for the end of the show. Nick's Lidstrom is going to replace Nick's jingle at the end. Or maybe we'll get both. Who knows? Maybe you'll be inspired.
No, we need to play the jingle. It's so good.
You want it now or at the end?
No, at the end of the episode, we'll play it.
So stay tuned. We have a brand new jingle from our man, Scotty Hicks.
Yeah.
Came in again. And he's just pumping. He hears the segments there. Because we've even got, we did buy and sell last week. We've got a buy and sell jingle for whenever we're ready.
Yeah, you best believe that segment's coming back.
Now we have to, right? I mean, Scott, if you want us to do a segment, just make a jingle for us and say, hey, here's a jingle, or any of you. I mean, he is the official jingle maker of the Fourth Line podcast. But if anyone else wants to jump on in, make a segment jingle, and if it's not a segment yet, it will be. So I'm very curious to see what happens now. But
me too. But I'm excited to work backwards to create segments from jingles.
Yeah, why not, right? All right. So Nick's Lidstrom, brand new segment that we debuted last week, in which we pick a team, the opposite of the Elimination Station team, that is a lock for the playoffs in the same way Nick Lidstrom was for his entire career. Last week, we started with the Vegas Golden Knights, who then went out and went undefeated against the Arizona Coyotes this week. And looking at the over-under games...
Well, they didn't.
They did lose the middle game. I realized that as I said it. They had a winning record against the Arizona Coyotes this week.
There you go. That's better. They were undefeated until that game.
It's true. They're now 5-1. Their only loss against Arizona. They won 4-2, 5-2, lost 5-2, and then won a 1-0 game. Similar to you, put a couple dollars down on the over in the Sunday game in that series, because it'd been blowing out the over and they just kept leaving it the same. I said 5.5 goals. They just scored 6, 7, and 7 in these games. How are you going to leave that at 5.5? Well, they scored 1. So you're welcome, everyone who took the under on that game. Your winnings. But one thing that we do want to mention. So what we're going to be doing is, for this series, we're going to be, and we haven't fully settled on the type of it, but the teams that go into this segment, once we wrap it up, we'll probably do 2 or 3, maybe even 4 weeks before. We're actually going to hand out, we've got our Fourth Line merch that we've got, right? We've got pucks, we've got stuff. But we're also going to be sending you some merch from one of the teams that have been in the segment. So if you are a fan of one of these teams, absolutely hop on in, because it is a way for you to get hats, shirts, whatever. I mean, bauble mascots, whatever it is that we come across that brings us joy. If it sparks joy, we'll be sending it out. So we'll give you get the pick of what items you want. We'll tell you what we're going to be sending out, and you get to pick one of them. So excited to make that happen. Excited for, some new prizes to get us in there and connect with the teams that we're looking at.
Yeah, very exciting. I'm very excited. Are we naming a winner this week?
Do we want to?
For Vegas?
Were we going to do it? Because I assumed we would kind of let it ride.
Yeah, we should let it ride a little bit.
Okay, we'll let it ride.
We should do it weekly.
Okay, let's do it. But let's do after this week. After this week, we will crown a winner from just 2 weeks to get the season off on a roll. So
great.
After this weekend, we'll set out, we'll officially send out on the Twitter. So stay tuned on Twitter. We'll send out what the prizes you're playing for are. We'll pick some stuff for and send those out. So stay tuned for that. But you said you had an idea. You wanted an Eastern Conference team. So. Yeah.
Well, I tried picking one last week and you're like, no, we can't pick Tampa because they don't play enough. I said, okay, fine. And he said, how about the Golden Knights? And I said, okay, sure. That sounds good. Well, at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time, every time the Golden Knights were playing this week, I regretted agreeing to this decision.
So I guess we should, before we pick our new team, let us talk about the Vegas Golden Knights, because while Nick was asleep, I was able to watch the Vegas Golden Knights. And I know you did wake up and review the team and some of those games.
I watched some of it. My biggest question about the Vegas Golden Knights this season is, has Mark Stone ever struck you as captain material?
I was actually like, even just watching it, like, he's so good. And you look at like what he does, and even what he does, like, he's the least flashy top quality player out there.
Yeah. I know. He's like you're right. He's so good, but it always looks like he's grinding it out.
Yeah. And maybe that's just, maybe he's just got one of those faces. But
he does.
Definitely. I mean, would love him on my team. Really enjoy seeing what he can do, but he is not a flashy guy at all. And but Vegas is thrilled.
I was very surprised when they named him captain, because they have two other veteran players who were captains on their previous team on this roster.
I think with what he, can do, kind of that non-flashiness is what makes him a good captain. It would be tough to bring in Pietrangelo and immediately make him captain. That would be a bold choice. Who's the other? Is Pacioretty?
Pacioretty used to be captain of the Canadiens.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And he's been there a while. That would...
Yeah.
But has a different role on this team than he did with the Canadiens.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, this team's much better.
Uh-huh.
I would think
looking at the standings, apparently they're the same.
It's still early, Carl. It's still early. I would think Mark Stone's the silent leader type. Probably doesn't say much, doesn't get up and give big speeches in the locker room, but goes out and puts up 8 points in 6 games.
And then says, hey, everyone else do that. And then he leads.
He's looking good. Did you see the clip of him being named first star coming out to the empty arena and waving?
Yeah, that was good stuff. I like that.
That was great.
But what I find most interesting about this team, and probably the question mark that surrounded them the most, was goaltending. And what were they going to do? So far, they have evenly split the games. And Marc-Andre Fleury, I mean, he was the goaltender in the 1-0 shutout against Arizona this week. Robin Lehner played the games leading up to that. Fleury looking better so far, but I assume that they stick with this almost 50-50 split. Probably.
Unless one really heats up, but yeah.
I would say you run with this almost until that last week or two before the playoffs, and then make your decision.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And you know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they have gone, what did we say? They're 4-1, 5-1.
5-1.
Keep rolling it out. These guys will even themselves out. Like, Fleury is overperforming right now. Lehner, I think, is probably underperforming right now. Over the course of the season, it'll average itself out.
So you're
They'll
saying
be fine.
So you're saying we should not make a rash decision from 3 games?
No. Yes, actually, go to your sports betting website and put a lot of money on Marc-Andre Fleury.
Okay, because I mean, I'm really excited for you to pick the Florida Panthers as this week's Nick's Lidstrom. So, I mean, they haven't lost a game. How can you not pick them?
Statistically speaking, they're looking very good.
Literally on pace to go undefeated. I mean, so is Dallas, and they're in the same division, so something's got to give. But I think they'll tie those games, won't they?
Yeah, that must be what it is. Just split the points.
Just split them. All right. What are you wanting for this week?
For this week, you said it, the Dallas Stars.
Really?
So it's not quite East Coast. It's more Central. So I think it's a nice split for us.
Well,
we meet
nice
in the middle.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We meet in the middle. They have 4 games this week.
Jam-packed schedule.
So that's a lot of over-unders to guess on.
What do they got for us schedule-wise?
So Tuesday and Thursday, they play the Detroit Red Wings.
Oh my good Nick. You have never been less, like, this is the most blatant, least transparent thing. I guess
I'm not trying to be transparent.
Yep.
Look, are you telling me the Dallas Stars are not a guaranteed playoff team?
I would, but
they're going to be in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. But I look at all these other teams ahead of them. Like, there are literal teams in the East that have played more games than them that haven't lost either. And I'm not going to fight you on this. I'm just going to say, like,
you are fighting me.
I'm not fighting you. I'm just disagreeing with you.
Don't you hate when people are like, I'm not going to say this, but I don't mean to say this, but
look,
you just said it.
With all due respect. Look, I don't want to offend. I don't want to be offensive, but look, all I'm going to say, there are teams in the Eastern Conference that have played more games than them that haven't lost. That also, I think, are bona fide lock playoff teams. But hey, let us continue.
You were so on board with the Dallas Stars until I told you who they were playing against. I was like, Dallas. You're like, oh, okay. You actually thanked me for choosing the Dallas Stars.
That's true. And then I found out, okay, in your reason, where did them play in the Detroit Red Wings? Like, did you look at the Red Wings schedule first and then pick your team of the week?
I don't want to answer that question.
All right.
Hey, but then on Saturday, Sunday, they have a back-to-back against Carolina. Oh, maybe we shouldn't choose this team.
No, look, Carolina, They
should be back, right?
They should be back by then.
By the weekend.
Now, I would not, if you had have picked the team you wanted to pick last week, they are the team that is supposed to play Carolina the first half of this week. So they're supposed to play Carolina on Tuesday. Tampa is. And so I would have maybe steered us away from that one. But otherwise, I'm okay with hoping that they play by the end of this week.
Okay. Dallas Stars, it is then.
Dallas Stars at Detroit on Tuesday, Thursday. Carolina Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Saturday, Sunday.
Saturday, Sunday. So we got both games on the weekend, Tuesday, Thursday, the rest of the time. Stay tuned. Next week, we'll be talking Dallas Stars, which is going to be, I'm good. Let's do that. And if we even rotated through, it might even be a good idea if we just rotated and picked a team per division to start.
That's actually not a bad idea.
The lock of the division. So far, Nick has, in a division that has the Stanley Cup champions, Nick picked the team that beat them.
I tried to pick the Stanley Cup champions last week.
I hope
you talked me out of it.
I hoped you would notice. Yeah, but for COVID related and scheduled related reasons.
It didn't occur to me until right now. Our Nick's Lidstroms may have to change midweek too, based on the NHL schedule changes.
Based on cancellations, we might have an impromptu team of the week swap.
We might.
And that's fine. So there you go. So especially if you're a fan of the Dallas Stars, join in, pick the over and unders for all these games. We'll be there tomorrow. Let's see. Do you think there is what would you predict the line is for tomorrow's Wings Stars game?
What the line is?
Like, what is the over under for tomorrow's Wings Stars game?
Oh, they're going to set it high. I think like 5.5 probably.
5.5.
Yeah.
I have not seen a line higher than, I think I saw a 6.5 already.
I thought about going 6.5, but that seemed too high.
So the line is already out, and the line is 5.5.
It is, yeah. That makes sense.
We're getting actually some 6s also as lines, which is
really.
I would never bet the 6.
Is it the West Division? Is it the Pacific?
We've got a 6 in Chicago, Nashville tomorrow, and also a 6 in San Jose, Colorado. But it's just like, because if it hits on 6, you don't win. It's just a very difficult line to hit on. So I never like to pick a game with that. So if and when, I mean, it's inevitable that will happen at some point this season. And I look forward to maybe handing out no points If it's exactly 6, no one wins.
Great. I like it.
That's it. So this week, tune in for the Dallas Stars. Thank you to Vegas for being a lock in the playoffs. Goodbye, Ottawa. Sorry that you've been eliminated in the playoffs. We'll be back next week picking some new ones. Head on over to our Twitter to play high, and actually a change in the name as well. It had a tweak. A tweak was suggested this week. Instead of high sticking to high-low sticking.
Love it. I love it.
It's so good. So thanks to Mike Laborn for having that. High-low sticking. Play that on Twitter at Fourth Line Podcast. We'll put out the tweet. You reply, and we'll send you out some NHL merch as well as some of our own Fourth Line Podcast stuff. So excited to get those out to you. And you can find us at thefourthlinepodcast.com, facebook.com/the Fourth Line Podcast, on the Full Press Radio app. You can find that in all of your app stores, where there are tons of other great podcasts on there as well. You can find us anywhere else you listen to podcasts. If this is your first time, subscribe over on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Spreaker, any of your podcasting apps. We are there for you, and head on over to them. We'll be back next week. And until then.
And now, what's our jingle maker's name?
Scotty Hicks.
And now we are going to send you off with the latest from Mr. Scotty Hicks, the Nick's Lidstrom jingle. Let the music float through your ears while the words seduce you. Take it away, Scotty.
I mean, what words can you use to describe 10-time first-team All-Star, 2-time second-team All-Star, 7 Norris trophies, Conn Smythe trophy, attention to detail, come to the rink every day, he was the best player in practice, Nick's no maintenance. It's about class.